When you sit down and turn on music, what do you typically listen to? Maybe you decide to turn on that new pop or rap song. Maybe you choose country, or rock, or heavy metal. You could listen to any number of things, but it may not cross your mind to listen to one of Chopin's heartbreaking nocturnes, or one of Beethoven's triumphant symphonies. Most people in my generation don't listen to classical music. They dismiss it as too boring, too complicated, or too old-fashioned. What they may not realize is that classical music can be just as interesting and just as exciting as any other type of music. Gregory Brown, a classically trained pianist and Juilliard graduate, once remarked, "My life would just seem so empty were it not for music like this. I'm sure more people, especially people my age, would say it the same way if they'd just give it a chance." Classical music is worth listening to. But why? What's so special about classical music? Is it really that interesting? Today, we will take a closer look at classical music's brilliant complexity, its timeless quality of touching our soul, and its health benefits. One of my favorite classical pieces is a Chopin piano scherzo in B-flat minor. The first few times I heard it, I had to pay close attention to the music in order to make sense of it. But now that I am familiar with the music, I can hear and appreciate the passionate melody and the heroic attitude the music portrays. I've listened to that piece hundreds of times, and still I marvel at the power, majesty, and drama of the music every time I hear it. I've often wondered why I never tire of hearing that piece, and one of the reasons lies in its complexity. But what exactly does that mean? Classical music has so many different layers to it that make the music incredibly expressive and moving. For example, in a symphony, there are multiple instruments all performing different parts of one piece of music. There are high instruments and low instruments, just like there are high notes and low notes in classical piano pieces. There are loud parts and soft parts, and fast and slow parts all in one piece. The chords are always changing, the mood is always changing, and the rhythm of every piece is very unique. Because classical music is complex and has so much depth and variety, it doesn't get repetitive and boring. We may tire of pop songs, on the other hand, because the music sounds the same every time we hear them. Most pop songs are at the same speed throughout the whole song. The music is typically loud, and most pop songs are based on only a few chords. Pop music's appealing, but because there's not as much variety, it can get old more quickly. That could be why we don't often hear the same pop song on store radios for more than 2 years. But the more we listen to classical music, the more fascinating it becomes. It is an acquired taste, however, and it takes time to develop an ear for classical music. The complexity is intimidating at first, but it doesn't have to be. All you need to do is keep exposing yourself to classical music. Available at the library, a CD of Mozart piano sonatas played by Andras Schiff is a great place to start. Play the first CD while you're cooking dinner, driving to work, or cleaning the house. Often it's helpful to listen to pieces several times in order to understand them better. After you are familiar with Mozart's sonatas, move on to something such as Chopin's ballades or concertos. Over time, it's quite likely that you will develop an ear for classical music, and its beauty and value will become more and more apparent. Martin Luther, the great reformer of the 16th century, once remarked, "The riches of music are so excellent and precious that words fail me whenever I attempt to discuss and describe them. Next to the Word of God, the noble art of music is the greatest treasure in the world." We are people with souls, emotions, and experiences. For hundreds of years, classical music has had a timeless quality of expressing those emotions and experiences and moving us while doing so. In Brendan January's book, Ludwig van Beethoven, Musical Genius, he says, "Swept up by his own emotions and the spirit of his times, Beethoven expressed the pain, joy, hope, and rage of the human experience in music. Beethoven had a stormy personality and was prone to depression. Music allowed him to pour out all of those bottled up feelings. Beethoven's music portrayed the depths of his heart and soul in his passionate pieces. This emotional aspect connected the audience to the music in a very unique way. When a listener heard the intensity in the music, they could hear the emotion of their own lives and hardships being played out in the expressive music. It's the same today. Consider one of the most famous orchestral works of all time, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. How iconic are those first few ominous chords. Regarding those first four notes, Beethoven himself said, "Thus fate knocks at the door." That piece was composed a long time ago, but isn't it just as gripping and just as captivating for listeners as it was nearly 200 years ago? Doesn't the music still contain so much fury and violence that it sends shivers down your spine and makes your heart leap with excitement? Doesn't the music express the challenges, the struggles, the triumphs of life itself? For a long time, I thought that classical music was uninteresting and dull. But then I began playing piano sonatinas by Muzio Clementi, a classical composer from the 1700s. The first time I heard one of the sonatinas, I was speechless. The music was sparkling and elegant, and so full of delicate color and life that I was overcome with joy, and I wanted to cry. I listened to those sonatinas over and over again, and I had never imagined classical music could be as moving, thrilling, and timeless as those pieces were. According to the Rough Guide to Classical Music, Haydn composed between 1761 and 1802. That's over 200 years ago. Yet more than 20 kids played pieces by Haydn in the Kansas State Honors Editions last year. Noteworthy classical artists such as Dubravka Tomsik, Andras Schiff, and Marc-Andre Hamelin play Haydn while traveling the world for their classical piano concerts. Many symphonies around the globe play Haydn as well. The same is true of countless other classical composers and works. Classical music takes time to understand, but don't give up. The music is worth it. Classical music truly touches our soul and has done so for countless years. In addition, classical music is literally good for us as well. You may not have known that classical music in particular has noteworthy health benefits as opposed to other types of music. At the University of Toronto, a team of researchers used classical music to assist participants suffering from insomnia. The researchers found that classical music helped the participants to fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. This is great news if you're like me and you have difficulty sleeping every night. Classical music has also helped to reduce crime rates in some cities. According to the Chicago Tribune, a high-crime London train station used classical music to help reduce crime at the station. In the 6 months after the station began playing classical music, robberies were cut by 33%, staff assaults by 25%, and vandalism by 37%. Classical music has even proven to help premature babies grow faster and go home weeks earlier. Tel Aviv University doctors exposed premature babies to a half-hour of Mozart every day, with remarkable results. The babies who were exposed to classical music expended less energy, a process that can lead to faster weight gain, therefore allowing them to go home sooner. According to Dr. Mendel, the music makes the babies calmer and less likely to be agitated. In conclusion, classical music is worth listening to for many different reasons. If you want to challenge your mind to understand the incredible complexity classical music has to offer, pull out a CD of Bach or Debussy. If you desire to expose yourself to the beauty of timeless arts, all you have to do is flip over to the classical station on Pandora. If you want to improve your physical and emotional health, consider classical music an effective and enjoyable way to improve your well-being. Classical music takes you on a complex emotional adventure that you can experience every time you turn on your radio. The magical world of classical music is here and waiting for you to enjoy. You have the chance to enrich your life and grow your mind when you open it to classical music. Thank you.